everyone to the 6th installment of the Tuesday Times Roundtable, Fall 2012 edition. I'm pleased to introduce one of my esteemed colleagues, Mr. Daniel Anzueto. He was born and raised in Miami Beach. He's a current graduate student here at FIU in the Masters of Higher Education Administration program and a graduate at FIU holding a bachelor's in psychology. He works as the assistant director for student programs at FIU's Honors College. Danny has been involved with many activities, including a peer advisor, a resident assistant, founder and president of Stonewall 2 DTC, and has worked and volunteered with many LGBT organizations in Miami, such as Aqua Foundation for Women, Pride Lines Youth Services, and Equality Florida. He currently serves as the finance co-chair for the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force. So I'll turn it over now to Danny and Glenn.
Thank you, Eric. Alrighty, everyone. Hi, my name. Oh, thank you. That's very nice. I'm going to be hanging out around here because I need to click through the PowerPoint. But thank you, Eric. Like I said, my name is Danny Anzueto. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Programs for the Honors College. If you need to direct questions, just call me Danny. It works. I'm here to talk to you about a very, very important topic, something that is very near and dear to my heart, but that I want to make sure that we're all kind of on the same page. So let's start with what the topic is. So the gay agenda. I have a lot of fun with this presentation, so please don't mind some of the graphics. So I'm here to share with you some of the secrets of the gay agenda. But first, I want to give you a warning. What I'm going to share with you is top secret. It can't leave this room. There's very important reasons why I can't leave this room. There's people out there. There's people out there who are watching, who are very interested in knowing what we talk about in this room. So I need to make sure that we're all very careful. Now, these people have a tendency to fit in very well with the rest of the community, but you know, when the moment strikes, they have a tendency to jump out at you. All right, so needless to say, this presentation is going to be a little funny, okay, or at least I'm going to try. We're here to talk about something that's kind of controversial, kind of fictional, kind of not, and I want to make sure that you all have an understanding of the kind of atmosphere that I want to create for you all as we have this discussion. So I'll give you another minute to get to the punchline. This is also where you get to test people's reading skills, how quickly you get to the joke. Okay, I'll go back to it if you need to. But first, it's really important because we are going to be having some discussions that are based off of some personal feelings, some different aspects of where you come from, what kind of family background, what belief systems you have. It's important to set some ground rules for discussion, okay? Some of the rules that I have are respecting each other, respecting kind of the discussion that we're having. This is a free and open format for you to talk to each other, but to please respect what people are saying as well as respecting kind of what I'm saying. There is always an opportunity to talk and to bring up discussion on other points if you don't agree with something, but respect the people that are saying them. Agree to disagree. Okay, this is really important because you're not all going to be very happy with what I say, and some of you are going to agree with it, but at the end of the day, just don't fight it. Just agree that some things you're not going to agree on. Who knows what the Vegas rule is? What happens here stays here. Okay, so this is, again, a safe environment for us to have conversation about an interesting topic that a lot of people aren't really sure about. So Vegas rule, what happens here stays here, except for the stuff that's getting video recorded and will be put up on iTunes so that everybody can see. You know, aside from that, so everybody online, you're in the room. Be open to learning something new. That's all I ask. We're going to have some discussion. A lot of this is going to be kind of going back and forth and seeing how you feel about it. But just be open to learn something new. I'm not saying that you have to, but just the possibility. and that I'm not here to change your mind on anything. I'm just here to present to you how I feel about a certain thing, and we'll go from there, okay? But before I tell you some of our secrets, I want to show you a very important documentary that has the real life experiences of gay people, okay? Now, this was filmed a few years ago, and it's very, very important to the conversations we're having.
The homosexual menace. Here is a normal, healthy male. He enjoys drinking beverages of an alcoholic nature, watching sporting activities on the television, and thoroughly enjoys the company of women. Life for this happy fellow is good. But hello, what's this? A well-dressed gentleman casually sauntering past while winking. That's right. This poor chap has just been harassed by a homosexual. But what is a homosexual? Homosexuals, or fancy gentlemen, are manufactured in Greece by Satan himself, and they're shipped all over the world to infiltrate society, posing as hairstylists, dancers, or interior designers. Once settled, they reproduce
in a second, once this is done.
and begin their exploits. Homosexuals are very much like the devil, in that they are practiced in the craft of deceit, and also have many different names. Popular terms for gay people are pretty fellows, dandy campers, and flappy chaps. The collective term for the group of homosexual gays is a mincing. They live in camps where they spend their time concocting fresh batches of eggs, covering things with lace, presenting offerings to their bedazzled goddess, Lady Gaga, and stealing human children by the adoption process. Gays find all other men attractive. Nobody is safe from their lecherous advances. Take heed. Homosexuals present a very real threat to you and your sexuality. They are masters of the dark arts, and their mere presence could turn a normal human male into a drooling scion of depravity. You can avoid this fate by being vigilant and avoiding the homosexual at all costs. There are 3 ways in which you might identify a homophile. Number 1. Gay men like to wear hats and/or neckerchiefs of a flamboyant nature. Number 2. Gay men have difficulty resisting all innuendo. Number 3. You might better know the sodomite by his battle cry of, "Ooh, ducky." So, now you are aware of, and can avoid, the homosexual menace.
Okay, and now for the truth. So I'm passing out the gay agenda as it was passed on to me for you all to have. And as you open it and as you get it, you'll realize that my standpoint is that there is no such thing. But I did give you some fabulous space for notes. So feel free to take notes as we have a discussion. Some of the main people, this is kind of the truth. Some people are gay. Get over it. A lot of the things that are in that video, and I have resources at the end that I'll either email out to you or I can show if we have some extra time. These videos are made and they're really funny, but some people think like this. And that's where the danger comes, is that people actually believe that this is how homosexuals are. I do have the perils of lesbianity, as well as the bizarre world of the bisexual to show you if we have some extra time. But the big component for this is that there's people that have this mentality, that they have this idea that the gay agenda is trying to take over the world. Right. But honestly, this is kind of more of what the gay agenda looks like. I can tell you from my own personal experiences, as Eric said, I went to undergrad here at FIU. I helped when I started as a freshman at BBC. I helped to start up again. It had been about 10 years since it had kind of gone inactive. Stonewall 2 BBC, the Biscayne Bay campus, which is the LGBT student organization that kind of partners with the Stonewall Pride Alliance here. And it was very interesting going through my development, working with students, and understanding the conversations I was having with people and how I actually had to make them understand that there was no other goal. They said, why do you have a gay group? I said, because gay people like having groups. People like having groups. People like being with other people that are like them because it makes them feel more comfortable. Especially when you're the minority, it makes you feel more comfortable. It makes you feel like you have a place to be. And honestly, as I had more experience working with people and as I had more time really starting branching out into the community. So as Eric also said, I've had experience working with a lot of Miami-based organizations. I interned for the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force. I've worked extensively with Pride Lines Youth Services, the Aqua Foundation for Women, Equality Florida. And the more I spent time with organizations such as that, and the more time that I worked at FIU with Stonewall, the more I realized that people still had this idea that we were trying to take over. We were trying to change, and we were trying to push this agenda, which every time someone asked me, what's the gay agenda? And I said, I don't know, but you can probably get it at Target. I never understood it. And for me, the biggest thing was always, I want to kind of blend into everybody else. I don't want to have, a big proponent that we always had in conversations with students is that, and even as president of Stonewall, I would be extremely happy if Stonewall didn't have to exist. I would be very happy if there wasn't a need to have an organization to help students who feel ostracized from the community, who feel like they aren't a part of the larger community. I would just rather join every other club, clubs that are for activities. If I don't play football, but if you want to play football, you can play football and do things like that. But I just kept realizing this, and that's kind of where this came from. The article that you guys have in front of you in the New York Times talks about, these are kind of the main points. It's really what I got out of it. Talks about an effort to increase inclusivity in schools. So the main component of that is to, it says, many educators and right advocates say that official prohibitions and slurs and taunts are most effective when combined with frank discussion from kindergarten on about diverse families and sexuality. So to simply have language or actions as a part of curriculum isn't the same unless you have everyone buy into it, unless you have everyone supporting it. The response to that is that there's lots of angry parents and religious critics that said that, that it's important to stop harassment, but that the way that they were doing it was simply pushing, again, the hidden homosexual agenda. The hidden homosexual agenda of equality, of not being bullied for something that is who you are, the homosexual agenda that helps, that would, if this bullying kind of stuff happened, would stop so many young suicides. It's a very real thing. I can tell you from my own experiences that things like this would have probably made high school a lot better. Probably would have made college a lot better. It'd make my daily experience a lot better. One of the things that you all have to take into account, and I do this, I'm also part of the Safe Zone committee here at FIU. So Safe Zone is a program that is a LGBT sensitivity training. And it's offered to faculty, staff, and will soon be offered to a larger population of students, where you kind of come and learn. Because sometimes you say what LGBT is, and people go, oh yeah, I hear that in the news all the time. But they don't know literally what lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgendered means. They don't understand some of the language. So that is what Safe Zone does. And through that, we hope to kind of help instill some of these things. So this is what we're going to base our conversation off of. And I want to ask you, what do you think? How do you all feel about efforts to, I guess, maybe increase inclusivity in language, in policy, in student organizations, or is that pushing too much? Should we try and stop? Should we just be happy with what we have? If you can tell me your name before we start. Melissa.
There's an article that I felt was pushing too far, that talked about how come passing this law that says you cannot counsel clients in any sort of capacity to change or alleviate any combat homosexuality or gender confusion, I guess?
Gender identity.
Yeah, gender identity. that, I understand why that's there. I understand that there is a lot of, we're going to change you. But I also feel like that's restricting people that are genuinely confused. And I think that's weird. What, do you feel like in high school you were confused?
I can tell you a lot from my own personal experience. It will generalize possibly to some people in the room, but I know in my experience when I was coming out, I came out, I'd say probably about middle school, but I came out as bisexual because I wasn't aware of what being gay was. I wasn't aware kind of what that meant. It wasn't something that was very much talked about in my family. And when I got to high school, it's kind of high school, there's older people, you start meeting different people, and then one of my friends who had also come out as bisexual decided that she was gay. She's like, you know, it's been a while since I've dated a boy. I can't really say that I'm bisexual anymore. And I kind of clicked on that too. I'm like, you can't call yourself, at least I couldn't call myself bisexual because I hadn't dated a girl in like 3 or 4 years. But I was very confused. There wasn't really any kind of support network. I went to a few different high schools. One of the high schools that I went to had a GSA, a Gay Straight Alliance. But aside from that, it wasn't really something that was discussed. It wasn't something, I remember the high school that I graduated from was probably about almost 1,000 people in the senior class. I can only think of one other gay person that was out. And I just remember sitting there, I'm like, I'm not gonna be that other person. It was a very scary thing. And there weren't conversations in class. There weren't things like that. There weren't policies instituted that brought those topics up. If it happened, it was because a group of people were interested in it and it was something that they had conversations about. But to rule it out, I think is causing a lot of danger for a lot of people. I think to say that you can't talk about something will just reinstill the idea that it's bad and that you shouldn't talk about it. I would see it as the opposite, that there's an agenda to kind of put the gay down. Not necessarily that the gays have an agenda, but the non-gay liking people have an agenda. If you stop talking about it. We'll come back.
I would say that the question should be at what age you should bring that up to a child. You know? At what age, or how do you want to keep that child's like innocence or purity without confusing him about sexuality or this and that. And then when is that transition? When's that fine line that, okay, now we can talk about it?
So who has seen the show The New Normal? If you haven't, I suggest you watch it. It's obscenely corny, but it's really cute. It is about a gay couple, very successful, very well off, who decide that they want to have a baby. And they find someone who's going to be a surrogate. I know because I just watched like the past 3 episodes back to back. They're really good. Who's going to be a surrogate. And at one point they go, and she's pregnant, and they go to a store and they're like, as I do, they are ogling all the little kid clothes because it's so cute and so tiny. And they kiss each other because they're really excited about the possibility of offering a child a life to raise them. And they go pretty head on a lot of topics, and there's a straight couple that sees them there that has a young daughter, and the dad tells them that they should be ashamed for doing that in front of kids. So that lends itself to that conversation, because the conversation they then had was, well, why can't you, we shouldn't be doing these things because you can't have these conversations with your kids early. I know when I was growing up, sex was like a no-no. We didn't talk about it. It was maybe high school when my family decided to sit down and have the talk with me, and I said, okay, what do you want to know? I was like, my brother and sister, I have an older brother and an older sister who proceeded to have the birds and the bees conversation. 30 minutes later, they still didn't understand how a bird and a bee could have sex. I think I would have personally benefited from just having a general conversation early on. I know that who I am now has a lot to do with, and who I am not as a gay man, but as a person that's comfortable talking about sex and talking to people openly, is because of research that I did when I was a kid. I heard things and I was like, I don't know what this means. And I looked up books and I went, oh, but I was young. And that's how I learned. And I think that we don't give kids enough, I guess maybe not think that they can handle things as much, because you also get to have those conversations in much simpler terms than when they're in high school. So.
In response to what you
Oh, sorry, hold on. Your name?
Milady.
Milady, and?
I'm Savannah.
Savannah.
In response to what you said, okay, my parents never really did the whole, if we went to the zoo and the animals were mating, they didn't say, oh, they're just fighting. They're like, oh, no, they're mating. I didn't understand the terms until later, but it was very open. When years later, going through everything, my parents were very open with me. It wasn't, ooh, what's going on? It was, okay, so that's going on. It was very chill. I might be the minority, but because my parents were more open with me, I understood the world a lot better, and I really thirsted for knowledge. And when I came out as bisexual to my parents said, you're making this a much bigger deal than it really is. And she walked away. And it was literally nothing, because they were more honest, I guess, and they were more like, okay, so this is how the world is, and there's a lot of different people out there, and we don't know everything, and you won't know everything, so just go with it. And I think that if more parents had that kind of mentality, we wouldn't have as many people going on about the gay agenda and they're going to take over our world. They were just more honest about, I don't have all the answers, and just because I don't get it doesn't mean it's wrong. We wouldn't have as many issues.
And I think another component that is, well, I see lots of questions, this is good. Another component is the connection with the association of sexual orientation and sexuality. Just because I'm gay doesn't mean I'm having sex in the streets. I can tell you that there probably are some people that are doing that, but there are probably some straight people that are doing that. And I think that's a big thing, is that there's this assumption that if you start allowing more gay people out, that sex is just gonna happen and people are gonna see it and then turn gay. So over here, do you have a question?
Yeah, I think it's great that...
Your name? Sorry.
Isabel.
Isabel, okay.
I think it's great that we're having this discussion, and I see it as, progress, but then I can also see how in other places having a discussion like this is, really not easy. And I think that's what the problem is, but hopefully, with time, there'll be, some sort of, convergence, maybe, stuff, the mentality that you don't know everything. Well, these places have a mentality that they do know everything, and that community is bad and all that stuff. And then when you try to do what you're doing, it's just no, just educate you, they see that as big difference.
Which is definitely a very true thing. I know that this is probably, if people saw it on the Tuesday Times Roundtable schedule, they probably went, oh, this is bad, we shouldn't be doing this. Whatever floats your boat, honestly. I like sharing this kind of information because I think it's just, as an educational institution, it's important for you to know. What you do with it is your own decision.
Going back to Joy. Going back to your comment about the television show, where the folks are saying, oh, can't believe you're doing this in front of our children. So I've taught every grade level from age 3 to doctorate, so I've no kids. I always say fill in the blank. Would we, think about, 100 years ago, would we talk about women voting or having integrated schools? And I think of the whole issue of when to talk to kids about it as, I don't know how to describe it, but if we make it an issue, then it is an issue. So if a set of children see a mommy and a daddy kissing or hugging, why can't they see 2 men or 2 women doing the same? Why have that issue of what age can we be exposed to this? We had a first grader who her name's Katie, is a girl, but identifies completely as a boy, dresses as a boy, plays with guys. I have a friend who knew he was gay as early as kindergarten, and so I think it would be very naive for us to think that these issues come up in middle school or high school. Children are having gender identity issues early on, and like I said, fill in the blank. We wouldn't dare say, let's talk about racial equality in high school. So why do we wait to talk about gender and sexual orientation equality when they're old enough to handle it?
Very good.
Me? Oh, I'm Whitney. I'm going to say my name is Harvey Milk, and I want to recruit you. I do have an agenda. And that agenda is to not let radical queer politics get usurped by the family values agenda. Why the new normal? Why modern family? These are acceptable ways. Why not queer as folk? I want leather daddies in the street. I want the radical fairies to be able to roam around naked. I want people to be able to have sex in the streets, you know, whatever. So why not even open it up to that?
I'll be taking from another point of view. My name is Demetrius, and my ex, she was president of the GSA in her high school, and I was president of the Republican Club in my high school. The only problems we had there was a lot more violence. We didn't make any violence towards the GSA, but like we had one time in one meeting where they threw an egg in our meeting, and we didn't care or anything like that. There wasn't any violence towards it, but being that the more reception that we see more in America, it says like 3% of people say that they're gay. Let's make it 5% of people that are not inclusive. It's not considered normal. It's not 52% or 51%. And back in the times, I mean, you could take a historical point of view. It's part of warriors are more gay to be in order to be bonded with the guys inside the military. In order to be, you have to watch out for the other guy. It's the same thing in Bushido. So historically, there wasn't a problem with it. The only problem that we're seeing is that a femininity. Feminism and the gay rights. I mean, it's not like the Birdcage, like you get Rob Williams' character and his Mace character, this whole different contrast between the two of them. I mean, more people want to see the masculinity in a man and the femininity in a woman. I think that's probably what the problem is, that we're not seeing, what the new normal is not, it's going too fast to get everyone adapted to it. I think that's what the problem is.
Okay, I will, on a few of the points, I will agree with you on the new normal. Because I saw the show and like, as I said, I think it's a little too corny too quickly. like it's gay. And I think they're just trying to push the envelope, and that's how they're doing it. In the context of what Whitney was saying, as far as how far to take it, I think that's in the similar conversation of what are people comfortable with. Honestly, as Joey was saying, 10, 20 years from now, I don't think we'll have to have this conversation. We'll be having a different conversation. 10, 20 years from now, radical fairies will be flying through the street. If you don't know what a radical fairy is, you should look it up. They're quite fun.
There's no hostility towards gays. I have no hostility towards gays, neither did anyone. It's just everyone wants to get along. That's pretty much everything it is. Just
exactly.
Don't flaunt it in my face or anything like that. That's pretty much. But
Why would you flaunt your heterosexuality in my face?
I think one of the important things to realize is, so what we're looking at are, and you feel free to come to a Safe Swim training if you want, because we get into this a lot more in depth. We only have a few more minutes, a little bit more time, is the definition of sexual orientation, definition of gender, gender expression, gender identity. There's a lot of different things. I am a gay male. I present as masculine, right? Unless it's Halloween, you won't see me in a dress. I may dress in a way that may come off a little more feminine because I'm not afraid to wear pink, not just because I'm gay. But there's also a spectrum of expression. There's plenty of straight men who walk around really, really tight, skinny jeans, who would normally be associated with something that women would wear, because that's kind of where it started from, and then it jumped the fence. And I think it's very important when you look at the different people, I will get to you, I promise. When you look at people is to decide on what aspect are you judging or looking at them in. So here, and then we'll jump over. Your name?
Ariana.
Okay.
So I think the problem, coming back to the issue with children and how to raise them, what confuses them, I don't think, is seeing all of these things happening and saying, oh, this goes against what I've been told is. What confuses them is from the moment they're born, trying to put them into a certain category, into a certain mold, and that could also be extended to a gay mold, or a straight mold, or a bisexual mold, or a queer mold, I guess. It's more complicated when you go into that. The issue is that we do have a larger society, that we don't live in a society that doesn't try to put kids into molds, so we do have to talk to them about those things. But I think that, like they brought up before, the issue is trying to bring it up in a way that's not telling them, okay, you can be gay, straight, or bisexual, or transgender, or queer. It's just, just be whatever you want. You can dress however you like, and express yourself in whatever way you look at as comfortable. So it's really more complicated than people make it out to be, and there's sort of like an identity that is getting constructed of a gay identity, and sometimes that can also be used in negative ways, like in pink washing campaigns and things like that. So I think the most important thing is to try to explain to people and show to people that you don't have to fit into these certain molds, and then the fairies and whatever will be out in the street, and nobody will find it weird, and nobody will find it confusing, because nobody would have told them that wasn't supposed to be the case.
Your name?
My name is Danny Russell.
Okay.
I want to go back to what Joy was saying about at what age is appropriate to start talking about that. Now, this is not my opinion personally, but this is what I've understood, is that the huge issue is whether people are born gay or whether people become gay. So a lot of parents and a lot of families believe that they might think that people become gay, so the early stages of a child's life is when they become who they're going to become the rest of their life. So they don't want them to be exposed to that because they don't want them to actually become gay.
No, and that's a valid point, because I've heard it before from people that are scared that if you tell someone about it, they will know about it and thus will become it. But that goes across the board for anything that you don't want people to become. An interesting experience that I had recently in the child side, I recently moved from a place that I was living at for 4 years. Across from me, there was a single mother with a daughter who was 4 years, so I think she's 8 now, so I've known her since she was 4. And my partner and I moved out of the apartment, and we were leaving, and she was in the elevator with us because she decided she wanted to help us move, carrying this tiny little box. And she asked, and she was like, "Are you guys moving out together?" And we're like, "Yes." She was like, "But you're not married?" And I said, "Yes, we are." She was like, "Oh no," she asked first if we were brothers, and I said no. And she asked if we were married, and I said yes. And it's very interesting, depending on how children are raised, because I know the mom is very open, and she has these conversations, because she's told us that it's something that was important to her to talk to her daughter about everything. Anytime she has a question, she answers it honestly, to the best of her ability. So when I said, yes, we're married, her only response was, "But neither of you have long hair." That was it. And I went, no, we don't. And she went, "Okay." And that was it. And it was this moment where I was like, oh my God, it's an 8-year-old girl. I really can't explain to her the facets of sexuality and sexual orientation in an elevator ride. I'm like, this is too much. And she was just like, okay. And I went, oh, that's it. Which I think goes back to a lot of it. If I had heard, I think, from my own experience, and I will share something with you that took a lot of time and lots of conversations with my family to get over, was as a child, I heard that I could be anything I wanted to be, but I couldn't be gay. But often, whatever you want to be in your life, feel free to be, just don't come home gay. So gay automatically was a negative thing. And it was something that I did not want to come home as to my family. And when I did, oh crap, I was terrified. But I think had the conversation happened, I was gay, but I would have known what gay was. I would have understood it better. I would have maybe just had a better experience. I would have probably had a better childhood, probably had a better time in middle school and high school, feeling a little bit more comfortable about myself. Name?
Rochelle. I think one of the important things that you got at is having that education at a younger age so that you don't walk around thinking, I'm just different and I can't explain it. Because that kind of uncertainty for a child for a child or an adult or any of us at any age, is something that we don't have an answer
what age to tell a kid and how to say it. I found in my own experience that the best way to explain something to a kid is say it in the simplest way possible, not like the birds and bees, just like who said it, the mating, the elephant, you know, oh, they're mating. You know, don't try to give all these complicated things, like, you know, say a whole thing about two people being gay, but the kids just be like, well, you see, there's some people out there who like a person of the same sex. Just, you know, treat it as simple as possible.
And I think that's a big point to the experience that I had. I, in an elevator ride of 2 floors, freaked out that I had to have this intense conversation, because mainly the conversations I have are usually with graduate students or college students that will ask a lot more questions. But it was so simple and such a comment that she said, and I went, oh, okay. I think that's important. Here, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I was going to actually say that later, that I think if we do try and educate children younger and everything, we can just kind of, you know, some boys like boys, some girls like girls, some people like everything. You know, you can't go wrong there. But like, and it's just the problem is that if you don't explain, in my opinion, if you don't explain to people when they're younger in a simpler way, they might have to rely on bad examples or just extremely one-sided examples. Like, you know, if you watch some movies where, you know, there is a gay character, but he's extremely like flamboyant and he only has one sort of perspective, you're like, well, if I can't fall into that, what really am I? And then you can't visualize yourself as gay or lesbian because you don't fit into the mold you've only seen on TV or in books. And so, like, I think if you learn at a younger age of just an ambiguous, like, yeah, so you can be who you want to be, and if you just like someone of your same sex or something, it doesn't matter, you don't have to fall into a specific category, and you'd be fine.
Well, my name is Elaine, and I've worked a lot with, you know, HIV rights and gay rights community, and I kind of like what you said about having that. I think fundamentally it's political. Fundamentally, I mean, I don't want to get political or anyone, but if you don't, how can you actually, you should have an agenda. I mean, the gay agenda is really put on us by other people, saying that it's a gay agenda, because they have another agenda. So, thank God for Berkeley. Thank God for activists. And thank God for people who say, I'm going to stand up and say, that's what she's saying. We're all saying, let people be who they are. But to do that is a risk.
Yes.
And electing those people to office is a big risk. So, I guess that's where I put it back to the group, you know. Fundamentally, if you want change, you've got to get people in power that can help advance an agenda that's a new agenda for equality. And that's not so easy.
No, I completely agree. And like I said, I've worked with a lot of groups, and it's definitely a political move. And that's the easiest way to get some things across. And usually the only way to get people to listen. And I would agree, as was mentioned before, that the agenda of something is usually placed on other people. So the gay agenda is usually placed by other people because we're just trying to do something, just as if other people who are maybe more conservative are trying to do, not that there aren't conservative gays. I need to put all these caveats out there. But someone else's agenda is the things that they want to accomplish. And that's their agenda based off of the external point of view.
A year ago, I was in a soup kitchen, and there was a young man I had the privilege of meeting. He was 19 or 20 years old, just about a year or two older than I was. And he told me that his family kicked him out of the house because he was gay. And I think I very much admired him. He was very hardworking, he was intelligent, he was putting himself through school, and he just didn't have quite enough money to pay all of his expenses, such as his food expenses for the month. But I think that if we really want to have an open-minded society, then we have to teach children that there are people of all different types in the world, not just gay, which, I mean, gay people are very important like anyone else, and they're human beings too. But there are people from all different cultures, from all different religions, with all different types of thinking, and we're just all very, very unique. And we have to support that and support
Hi, I'm Ella, and the idea of this whole situation or so is, I mean, there's this mentality that Americans and most people tend to have, which is dual thinking, which is the black, the white, yes, no, good, bad, you know? So, but why does this have to be good or bad, you know? Why can't it be just something that is, you know? It's a mentality that we have and that we focus on, you know? Coming out of the closet, you know, those type of words. I mean, like, why do you have to be in a closet, you know?
It's because of the clothes.
Let's confine, you know. Why? I mean, it's a negative point of negative connotation. It shouldn't be that way.
And I can, in that same context, as Dr. Blanchard said, this conversation, I can tell you, 20 years ago was on a different topic, and 20 years before that was on a different topic. People deciding on, what you're saying, black, white, race issues, on women's right to vote, different issues have come up. This is just the current conversation. And as I said, with my hope that one day Stonewall won't be necessary, that maybe it just gets to be a social group, not so much an activist group or a political group, is that one day that conversation won't have to happen. Okay, so we have a few more minutes. I just want to show you really quick some, I will send this out. These are just some other videos. I will very much suggest to you the TED Talk, which is the myth of the gay agenda. A lot of the ideas that I had came from that. Gay Education is another really funny video. And then The Perils of Lesbianity, The Bizarre World of the Bisexual, and the Creepy 1950s Anti-Homosexual PSA are just funny videos to get you thinking because, again, those are the ways that people think. I want to thank everyone very much for the open discussion. I appreciate you all speaking out as much. I'll be here for a few minutes if you have any extra questions. Again, my name is Daniel Anzueto, D. Anzueto. I'm in the Honors College if you ever want to come by and just have a chat. Thank you very much.